Hello. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about toxic shame. Toxic shame is at the root of childhood trauma, and especially those of us who struggle with complex PTSD have to navigate the really challenging waters of living with toxic shame. So, toxic shame is created really when we grow up in an environment where our needs are not met properly, where we are not validated as humans, where our needs are not met properly, where we're ignored or neglected, where we're abused or mistreated in some way by our primary caregivers. Now, the main thing that happens to us as children is we don't have the reasoning capabilities to say, okay, this person is treating me this way. It's not about me, it's about them. They're not emotionally available or they have their own issues, right? Obviously, we don't have the ability to do that as children. And we rely on our caregivers for absolutely everything, including our survival. So it's actually not safe to blame them, even if we had the ability to sort of reflect and understand that it's about them and not us. And so what happens is we internalize this sense of badness or unworthiness based on how we were treated, and we end up carrying that sense of badness or unworthiness into adulthood. Now, one other thing that can happen is we can internalize our caregiver's sense of shame, right? So, if our caregivers are emotionally unhealthy and they carry their own unhealed toxic shame, we can sometimes take that in as well, internalize that. And then when we receive some sort of blatant messages, like if we grew up in narcissistic environments, we might be told that we were bad or that there was something wrong with us or that we were broken. And then we might internalize that. So there's different ways and different levels and degrees of how this shame can sort of come in and take root in our identity. And the problem with toxic shame is it is especially hard to navigate just in living as a human. It is a really, as I said, toxic shame. It is extremely toxic. And in addition to that, it's really hard to treat or heal. That's not to say it cannot be, it certainly can, but it is notoriously challenging to heal because it is born in early childhood. And again, it's like to us, it's like, well, this happened and it means this, right? And it's just such a core part of our identity. So again, it can change. But what I want to say as a survivor of childhood trauma and a woman who lives with complex PTSD and toxic shame, I will tell you it is really challenging. And so, this is an invitation to really start to understand that when those messages get triggered in you of badness, typically it happens in relationship because we were wounded in relationship, right, with our caregivers as children. And so, in relationship now as adults, that is where all the relational trauma issues get triggered, right? So, as an example, somebody might treat us disrespectfully or ignore us or blow us off or be downright mean to us. And then what can happen is immediately that goes right into that place of toxic shame in us and sort of triggers those really challenging physical sensations and really painful emotional states. And that part of us might say, "Yep, yep, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm bad, and this is proof. This person is treating me badly, or this, that, or the other thing is not working out properly, and it must be because I'm bad and I'm unworthy of good things." Right? So we take what's happening in the external world and make it mean something about us, specifically something bad about us. Now, this is the way we're oriented to reality, is that the outside world is information, sort of feedback about who we are. But what I will say, just a tidbit on this, is that actually the external world is a reflection of us in different ways. So, for example, if someone is mean to you in some way, it's not that they're showing you who you are. They're actually showing you who they are, how they feel about themselves. But what arises in you in response to them is your shame, is your feelings of not enoughness or wrongness or badness, right? So our reaction, our response is our stuff, but how others treat us is their stuff. And that's especially tricky for those of us who struggle with toxic shame because, man, does it seem like, okay, yep, I'm being treated badly. It's me. It's me. And it's just an automatic. It's not a thought out process. It just goes immediately to that root of shame. And it's like, yep, confirmation of what I believed. And so a lot of the time we're walking around having our deeply rooted toxic beliefs about ourselves uh, fed into by what's happening in our external reality, right? It's like we get proof over and over again of our badness. And so I just want to say that it is not proof of your badness, right? That what others do is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. How others treat you is a reflection of how they feel about themselves and their level of consciousness. It is not, hey, I'm going to treat you badly because you're bad, right? But we take it in that way and we make it mean that. And this is how toxic shame goes. So I want to normalize this for you and just let you know that you are not alone. This is at the heart of childhood trauma for all survivors is this feeling of badness. It is at the core. And this is the thing that we work on healing in a lot of different ways and a lot of different levels. Now, I wanted to speak to something else here because as wounded healers, I feel like this is even more tricky because we've got our own wounding that we're trying to work with, right? And then we're trying to help others. And so that we can really feel like imposters if we don't have some level of acceptance of our humanness, which is, of course, challenging with toxic shame, right? And I want to say that it is okay to be human. It's okay to be messy because that's what being human is being a little messy sometimes, or some days a lot messy. And that is okay. Um, that it's okay to be a work in progress because we all are. None of us are perfect. None of us have it all figured out or any of that. And you do not have to have it all figured out or all healed within yourself before you help other people. So, just to say that, I think it's really important to know that. And what can happen is we can have shame about our shame, which is really tricky. So, shame can have degrees and layers to it. It's very complex as it is anyway. But sometimes, if we've got toxic shame, then we've got shame about having that shame. And we don't want people to see those parts of ourselves. And so we hide behind a mask of perfectionism or goodness or being helpers or whatever we think that other people want us to see, want to see from us, instead of being authentically who we are. Now, being authentic to who you are is challenging for anyone, but for those of us with toxic shame, it's even harder, right? Because we're dealing with that at the core. And just a little secret, I'll tell you, I think that unless someone grew up in a super healthy, really almost perfect home, I think we all have some level of shame. I don't think I've ever worked with anyone in my healing practice over the last 23 years that doesn't have some level of shame. I think some level of it is part of the human experience. And at the same time, as survivors of childhood trauma, we want to understand that this is at the root for us and that it's something that we have to continue to work with over the long term. I will say for myself, having grown up in a narcissistic, abusive, alcoholic home, um, I just feel like at this point, it's something I'm going to have to navigate probably for the rest of my life. A pretty severe complex PTSD. And yeah, it gets triggered from time to time. Now, it does not get triggered the way it used to. I catch it a lot quicker. And that's the healing path, right? Is it's not a light switch. It doesn't just poof go away like we would want, but it lessens in severity over time and it decreases in frequency and we catch it more quickly. And so, what do you do when you catch it, right? Like, oh, there's that thing. So, good to name it, right? Oh, there's the shame. First of all, forgive yourself. Not that there's anything to forgive, but like, okay, there I am again. But of course, right? That's part of being a survivor. Now what? I just meet that shame with as much compassion as I can offer it. Just like, okay, it's okay. I'm okay to be who I am. It's just this old story repeating itself as old stories will do. There it is again, that familiar story. And I see that that's not my reality now. It's not true. And I can focus on good things to help counter those painful sensations when they arise. And it could be something simple like it's a beautiful day outside and looking at the sky and the trees, maybe taking a walk, maybe petting your dog or cat, maybe looking around at your life and going, okay, I feel this shame. I know it's here. I'm going to let it be here instead of trying to get rid of it or fix it or change myself. I'm going to feel these feelings as best I can and hold an awareness at the same time of what's good that's here, right? What is good in this moment? So it might be some of the things I named. It might be, my legs feel really good right now. I feel relaxed in my chest. It might be, oh, I've got this really good song that's on right now. And that makes me feel a little bit better. So we want to counter those really challenging feelings with compassion and with good feeling states that we can generate just by kind of looking around in our environment and noticing things that help us feel even just a little bit better. So, again, healing toxic shame is a long road for many of us. And I just want you to know that you are not alone, that you do not need to be perfect, and that there is truly nothing wrong with you. That what you thought was wrong with you was a normal response to a very abnormal situation where you didn't get your needs met. And I am sorry for that. But I want you to know that you are not alone and healing is possible. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please do add them below. And if you like this video and found it valuable, please subscribe. And we do release videos once a week. And I will see you soon.